Welcome to the Related Entities Policy and Procedures webinar. This PowerPoint presentation is made available to all institutions as a resource during the application, candidacy, and accreditation processes, as well as for peer reviewers. Permission is granted to colleges and universities within the jurisdiction of the Middle States Commission on Higher Education to utilize this recording as needed for the purposes of compliance activities. As a reminder, the information provided in this presentation is the property of the Middle States Commission on Higher Education, and the reproduction, distribution, or transmission of this presentation, in part or in whole, is expressly prohibited without prior written consent from the Commission. For permission request, email the Commission at president@msche.org. I am Dr. Terrence Peavy, Vice President for Institutional Field Relations at Middle State Commission on Higher Education, and I will share updates on the policy and procedures related to related entities. The policy was implemented in July of 2022 and is available at the Commission's website at www.msche.org. The presentation, specifically developed for institutional representatives and peer reviewers, will cover the purposes of the policy and related procedures, required evidence for compliance, peer review guidance, along with helpful resources and key definitions within the policy. Let's begin. Let's review the learning outcomes for this webinar. Number 1, identify the purpose of related entities, policies, and procedures. Number 2, identify what constitutes a related entity and how it impacts an institution's compliance with accreditation. Number 3, recognize related entities' role and responsibility in the institution's accreditation process. And number 4, understand the Commission's review of institutions' relationship with related entity or entities. The Middle States Commission on Higher Education has developed a related entities policies and procedures, which became effective on July 1, 2022. The purpose of these policy documents is to describe the Commission's requirements for member institutions and any related entity they may have, including the need for ongoing cooperation and transparency in the accreditation process. It is essential that the Commission receive sufficient information from the institution and its related entity, both at the time of application for accreditation and any time during the accreditation cycle. The Commission needs to determine to what extent the institution appears to meet the minimum requirements at the time of application and whether the institution appears to demonstrate ongoing compliance with the Commission's standard for accreditation, requirements of affiliation, policy and procedures, and applicable federal requirements. Please note these important reminders. The policy and procedures apply equally to both the institution and any related entity they may have. The Commission only accredits institutions of higher education which are authorized or licensed to operate as post-secondary educational institutions and to award post-secondary degrees. The Commission is concerned whether there is a significant level of control in the governance, administrative, operational, or financial structures of the institution, as well as a dependent or subsidiary entity for which the institution is responsible. The Commission is also concerned whether or how the actions of the related entity may impact the institution's ability to meet the Commission's expectations, standards, and/or policies. Please note on the screen the definition of a related entity. A related entity is an entity, regardless of form, that is legally distinct from the institution but has a relationship, connection, or interdependency with the institution. This definition can be found at the end of the policy document. To find the document on the Middle States Commission on Higher Education website, you may click on the link at the bottom of this slide. Note that we have also provided other examples of what constitutes a related entity, such as an individual, partnership, corporation, other entity, layer, or group of ownership, or institution of higher education that exercises legal authority or control over the institution, or a public college or university system, administration, or board, which has legislative authority from an individual state, territory, or federal district over a group of institutions. Please take the time to read the other examples. If you have questions on whether a certain entity is considered a related entity by the Commission, please contact the Vice President Liaison for your institution. Please note that both Requirement of Affiliation 11 and 12 have specific references to the related entity's responsibility. Requirement of Affiliation 11 refers not only to the requirement that institutions have documented financial resources, but also includes those resources from the related entity, thus emphasizing the related entity's fiduciary responsibility for the institution. Requirement of Affiliation 12 refers to the responsibility to disclose the legally constituted governance structure and the related entity's role in the governance structure. During the accreditation activities such as self-study evaluation, peer evaluators will examine the institution's compliance with all requirements of affiliation, including these two, and will be responsible for reporting on that compliance in their team report. In order for the Commission to determine that an institution appears to meet minimum requirements and is eligible to apply for accreditation, or that an institution appears to demonstrate continued compliance with Commission standards of accreditation, requirements of affiliation, policies and procedures, and applicable federal regulation requirements, it must have sufficient information involving related entity or entities for the institution. The Commission holds the institution responsible for fully disclosing, documenting, and explaining all significant matters and relationships involving the related entities. Let's discuss a bit further the institution's need to disclose its legally constituted governance structure. As a part of the peer review process, peer evaluators will examine evidence related to governance. For example, evaluators will review the formation and governance documents and will review evidence that describes the degree of control and decision-making of the institution's legally constituted governance structure. There should be no ambiguities regarding the legal authority, governance structure, and decision-making processes. Peer evaluators will also review the independence and autonomy of the institution. That is, the institution must demonstrate a level of independence and autonomy from undue political, financial, or other influence from a related entity. Additionally, peer evaluators will review the management and administration of the institution. There must be a clear separation with other entities. For example, there should be no overlap of staff between the related entity and the institution. As a part of the evidence provided for application for accreditation or in the self-study report, an institution should include a table which lists all the entities that are part of its legally constituted governance structure. In the narrative for Standard 7, there should be a description of the relationship, roles, responsibilities, and accountability for decision-making for the institutions by any related entity. Also, as a part of the evidence for Requirement of Affiliation 13, the institution should include a brief description of the composition of the governing body, making sure to provide evidence that board members have no employment, ownership, or personal financial interest in the institution. Finally, as a part of evidence for Standard 7, the institution will provide a roster of members of its governing body with names, titles, and nature of relationship to the institution for each member. At any time that the Commission requests it, the institution must fully disclose and provide financial information on the related entity, which will allow the Commission to assess the financial viability and management of the institution. Please note that this disclosure includes providing audited financial statements that may be used to analyze the finances of the institution. Along with audited financial statements, the Commission may request other documentation from the related entity. Submission of this documentation is required. Therefore, the institution must ensure that its related entity is fully aware of the requirements and will commit to providing the documents the institution needs to demonstrate compliance. Just like communication with the member institution is described in Commission policy documents, such as the Communication in the Accreditation Process policy statement, the related entity's procedures outline the communication expectations between the related entity and the Commission. It is the institution's responsibility to provide the contact information for the related entity representative, and because the Commission conducts official business in English, the related entity must also communicate with the Commission in that language. The Commission will share accreditation-related information with representatives from related entities to inform them of the accreditation decision-making process, including providing notice of upcoming accreditation activities. When the Commission does communicate with the related entity, the institution will be copied on all correspondence of record with the related entity and retain this correspondence of record as a part of the institutional record. Please know that the Commission has clear policies, procedures, and practices to ensure confidentiality of any and all information shared with or received from related entity representatives. It is important to note that the Commission will require participation of the related entity in accreditation activities. These activities may include application for accreditation, self-study evaluation, or follow-up and monitoring accreditation activities. And, in cases where teach-out is necessary due to the institution's sudden closure, the Commission will require that the related entity provide the necessary information for the teach-out plan and implementation. The Commission grants or reaffirms an institution's accreditation for the scope of accreditation that exists at the time of review. Certain types of institutional changes, defined as substantive by Commission policy and procedure or federal regulation, are not automatically covered by the institution's accredited or candidate status. The Commission requires the institution to submit a substantive change request to the Commission for review and action before the change will be included in the institution's scope of accreditation. Certain types of substantive changes may involve the related entity, such as changing legal status, form of control, or ownership, even if initiated by the related entity or related only to the related entity. It is important for related entities to understand that it is their and the institution's responsibility to inform the Commission of any changes in a timely manner. Therefore, the related entity must inform the institution of any such changes are being considered or planned. Please know that the Commission may not allow structural changes that violate its policy and procedures. To conclude, let us discuss when and how the Commission will review the member's institution's relationship with related entities. When an institution is applying for accreditation with the Commission, the application process will include scrutiny of the institution's relationship with a related entity. This scrutiny involves a determination of whether minimum requirements are met for the purposes of eligibility for candidacy and accreditation, particularly when the institution demonstrates the ability to operate with autonomy and independence. During the accreditation review cycle, important information must be provided as a part of the self-study report and accompanying documentary evidence under Standard 7. On the screen is a list of the various types of documentation that will be necessary for the Commission representatives to verify compliance, such as description of governance structure, description of layers of ownership and decision-making process, description of legal authority and operating control that the related entity has over the institution, description of entities that may be partnered with the institution through the contractual arrangements, formation or governing documents for institutions and related entities, and any additional evidence as requested. Finally, please note that the evidence must be provided in a timely fashion. The related entity should be aware of the timelines associated with the various accreditation activities, such as the self-study and complex substantive change review. As part of each of the reviews described previously, the institution must submit a completed and signed related entities required disclosures and certification statement for each related entity. The form can be found on the Middle States Commission on Higher Education website. The link has been provided at the bottom of the screen for your convenience. Please note that the failure to provide the signed statement may delay processes, may result in additional monitoring activities, or may result in non-compliance action. As a part of the peer review process, peer evaluators will review the certification statement and may ask for more information as needed. Resources related to the Middle States Commission on Higher Education policies and other pertinent information is provided here for your reference. please do not hesitate to contact your Middle States Commission on Higher Education Vice President Liaison if questions arise. Thank you once more for listening to this training module. Have a great day.